I'm a deputy chief with the Omaha Police Department. I've been on the department for 25 years. I just consider myself a person in the right place at the right time with the right tools and mindset to maybe make a difference.
Deputy Chief Gray's always been one since I've known him. He's always volunteered to help out. You can always depend on him.
It was St. Patrick's Day last year, and I had just gotten home from work and needed to go to the grocery store and get a few things. I think my whole trip in there was probably about a minute and a half. I mean, it was pretty quick trip in there. And when I walked up to the counter, I noticed the two young ladies that were working there. They acted like I wasn't even there. I mean, they were looking out the door, out towards the parking lot. One of them, I get to see her face turn pale, and she goes, "I think he has a gun." And then she goes, "I think he's shooting." Right then, I hear the first couple shots. So I ran back through the store to the main entrance, hoping to cut this guy off. I didn't know who it was, because it was pretty chaotic. There were a lot of people just running all over the place. Fortunately, that day, I had decided to carry my firearm off duty. Well, by that time, I could see an individual, and he's a pretty tall guy. I kind of peeked out from behind this display of Gatorade, and I could see that he's got the gun in his hand, and he's like looking down each checkout row as he's coming back towards us. I just assumed at that point he was looking for people to shoot. By that point, I'd drawn my weapon out, and I stepped out from behind the display. I brought my gun up, and I put my front sight on his chest, and I was just about ready to pull the trigger. Tom Winsel, a citizen, very brave individual, jumped out and tried to tackle him. Tom kind of knocked him down so that the guy was like in a seated position on the ground, but the gun was still free. So I'm running towards them, and the gun's still waving around, and I grabbed the gun because he had it down in front of him. Grabbed the gun and just got kind of the death grip on it, and I actually used my gun, and I just pistol whipped him 3 or 4 times across the head, and he let go of the gun.
I was actually walking my police canine in the neighborhood with my wife when somebody came driving by and said there's an active shooter. So that's when I just handed my leash to my wife and took off running.
I was glad to see Dave, to look up and see Dave coming towards me. Ironically, Dave and I were both a couple of the first officers at Von Maur. We train for this kind of thing. I'm a longtime firearms instructor, so I'm comfortable with firearms and my skills and tactics. I've taught active shooter response before. I was involved with the school shooting at Millard South in 2010.
That's kind of what it is to be a police officer.
The incidents you experience definitely affect you, and you learn from them, but I don't let them, necessarily define who I am.
People throw around that hero term a lot. We always run towards the problems. There might have been a lot of lives lost that day.